climbs to the very top of the heap because we must be strong and we must assume our role as leaders of the world.
Well, now it's Sweet 16. Ohio governor is now the 16th Republican candidate to join the field. Right now, Mr. Kasich is not in the top 10, which means he wouldn't be in the first debate just next month that's scheduled for. He is at 2% in the polls, just below Chris Christie. And look who is on top. I cannot make this up. It remains to be seen whether his slamming of John McCain's war record will put a major dent in his campaign, but it hasn't taken any steam out of Trump's enthusiasm. Maybe all the questions about his deferments during Vietnam will turn people off, but for now, the guy's on top. But will that last, especially if he keeps doing things like releasing Lindsey Graham's personal cell phone number, which he did today?
I wrote the number down. I don't know if it's the right number. Let's try it. 202. I don't know. Maybe it's, it's 3-4 years ago, so maybe it's an old number. So, I don't know. Give it a shot.
Now, he didn't go blue there. He actually gave the number, which we weren't going to perpetuate. But let's bring in our panel now. And what I want to get into is why Trump is resonating. Scott Levinson, president of the Advance Group. Dominic Carter, political journalist, author, as you know. Gloria Brown-Marshall, who is an associate professor of political science and criminal justice association at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. All right, Scott. We've seen creative campaigns over the years, but this one seems to be the most ill-thought, off-the-cuff, but yet resonating campaign. I don't think he'll last, but what's he tapping into that can explain why Trump's doing as he's doing in the polls?
First of all, he's not running for president, Richard. He's running to be a media mogul and raise his Q rating. It's not about winning. It's not about winning states. It's about doing what we're doing now. He won because we're sitting here talking about Donald Trump. So the numbers that you see are directly linked to name recognition and the press coverage he's getting. It's not in any way a reflection of those that will vote for him for president. You cannot weigh, as a voter, from a pollster, 15 candidates against one. That one is always going to be showing real numbers.
You don't necessarily agree. You think he's tapping into something.
There's no doubt about it. When he pulls stunts like he did with Senator Graham today, one, it's fantastic because it's not the norm that you would expect of a presidential candidate. Wait. And he's exposing these hypocrites because how do you 3 years ago asked Trump to get you in at Fox News and to raise money for you, and then you go on TV and you call him a quote jack, So
well, because he was a jackass.
No. In some people's opinion, he was. In my opinion, he was tapping into. Richard, you can disagree, and you and Scott can disagree all you want to. He's number one in the polls for a reason. Yeah. He's tapping into what some. It's great TV, and it's what some Republican voters, the base, want to hear.
Do you believe the numbers are real? Do you believe that 20%, 18%? We'll see how the impact of those comments, because the poll was taken, it was in the field for just one more day after those comments about McCain, so we don't really know how solid those are. Does the electorate look at that guy in the Republican primary and say he's the most presidential guy of the lot? Or do you think it's like Scott said, they just like reality TV, but they never vote for him?
I think it's reality TV, but you also have to remember that Kane was leading last time we were having this debate, and you see what happened. And once again, it made great television. He was this comical figure, what was it, 666 or 999 that he came up with, and it was a flash in the pan, but it was entertaining. It was kind of like how they bring out the clowns and before the real show. So this is the preview, and we're having these discussions, but it's good we're having these discussions because we have to tease out what we really care about. And if we're having this discussion about him and he's talking about immigration, we do care about immigration. So he's going to have to kind of, take away the rough edges so we can, really drill down to what's important.
Well, the question, though, is how he brought the subject up productive for real dialogue, or might it be the worst thing for Republicans? And I'll put this to you, Andrew. The candidates at the bottom of the polls, they've been reduced to throwing haymakers just to have anybody pay attention to him and to try and get some traction, and it's causing them to turn very hard right. It reminded us of this clip from the last go-round, this from a GOP debate here in 2011.
I'm going to ask a question to everyone here on the stage. Say you had a deal, a real spending cuts deal, 10-to-1, as Byron said, spending cuts to tax increases. Speaker, you're already shaking your head. But who on this stage would walk away from that deal? When you raise your hand, if you feel so strongly about not raising taxes, you'd walk away on the 10-to-1 deal.
So all the hands went up on that. Don't forget about this magical moment where 3 of the candidates do not believe in evolution.
Do you believe in evolution?
Yes.
I'm curious, is there anybody on the stage that does not agree in believe in evolution?
Yeah.
Andrew, my point is, thankfully they didn't ask if the world's flat, but is this good? I mean, Republicans have a real chance here to get the White House for the first time in a long time. Are they going to shoot themselves in the foot because in the primary process they're going to have to go so far right because of what the Trumps of the world have to say? You know, Chris Christie's talked about defunding Planned Parenthood yesterday, and the others, that even if they win, it's a Pyrrhic victory because they're going to be so harmed in general.
You know, watching those clips from the 2012 cycle, that was heady stuff. That was good stuff because it was set up from an actual issue, and it was actually them discussing an actual issue. That's not the case with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's not, I mean, he's bringing up immigration and he's bringing up other issues, but everybody's talking about Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Nobody's actually talking about the issue behind it. So right now, he's sucking all the oxygen out of the room, as opposed to what we saw in those clips. It doesn't have a chance of derailing the Republican Party if it goes forward. Yeah, if Trump doesn't, you know, absolutely blow up fast enough to clear the stage. But Trump's just tapping into the bubble. We talked a lot about the impact of the bubble in Washington and politics and conservative radio and Fox News and that sort of thing. He's a creature of the bubble. He's just telling that group what it wants to hear and what it's heard before. And that's why he's popular. He's speaking to their id right now.
But Scott, Republicans got to worry because they need some of the Latino vote this time around. And the only thing they heard was this guy saying they're all rapists coming from south of the border.
The fact is, if Dominic's right, if this is really reflecting some inherent theos within the Republican base, they have a real problem in November. They cannot get elected with this plaguing their party. This is a burden that, unless as a mainstream Republican candidate you juxtapose yourself against Donald Trump, they cannot win in November.
But nobody is. Nobody's juxtaposing themselves.
And the lack of umbrage among Republican candidates is, I think, what is almost most remarkable.
Yeah. And they got mad at him, Gloria, over what he said about McCain, but they were slow out of the gates on immigration. And my point is, nobody's paying attention to Chris Christie right now, but him saying he defund Planned Parenthood, that's not going to play well with the female electorate right now. And they can't just win with white males. They got to broaden their base. They've learned that lesson the last 3 cycles.
Well, they also learned that there are more women, even though they say they want a female president, who are against having a female president than there are men against having a female president. So you have all this mixture in there. You also have this conservative stance that people aren't talking about. The insulting remarks that we saw against President Obama. You have these people who still feel this virulent need to have their words spoken out, that they feel their country is being taken away from them. So you have a Donald Trump speaking to their need. But then you can also have maybe a Jeb Bush with a Superman costume on burst through at the last minute and say, I'm nothing like that. And for those people who are afraid of a Donald Trump, who are quiet now, and this is really bothering me because there are people, as you pointed out, who don't feel the way Donald Trump feels, who aren't saying anything about what's going on in this country. Who can tap into that? I think Jeb Bush can.
And I agree with you, because you saw the beginnings of Jeb Bush trying to juxtapose himself against Donald Trump last week. But it was
3 days
almost
too late.
Yes.
too little, too late.
Little.
Because he could really define himself now in that way, but he's so quiet.
It's not that
he's so silent.
It's not that they don't want to offend Trump. They don't want to offend his voters.
Yeah.
They don't want to offend the people who
Not
checked the
yet.
box for him at this point. And they're hoping, they believe, I think accurately, that he'll implode and that they can swoop in and try to poach his voters. But, you know, they're making themselves look really bad in the process.
You travel around the country a lot too, and do you think we underestimate just how angry folks are out there and how they're looking for scapegoats?
And to be honest with you too, I think piggybacking on your point, after the first black president, there is a lot of resentment in America. There is a feeling and country. See, New York, we think that, oh, you know, we're cool with Obama. No, there are a lot of people in a lot of states that are willing to do anything, not only to get rid of Obama, but when you look at these voter drives, I mean, to stop people from, to make sure it never happens again. Because when you look at, Richard, the voter rolls in terms of Obama was able to tap into something that they couldn't stop. You know, he said that he would take part in campaign finance, Obama. And then he realized he was raising so much money. He says, no, McCain, I'm not doing it. And you have the Republican candidate screaming bloody murder because Obama was raising so much money. The system, in many states, Richard, I am telling you, and that's what Trump is tapping into. Because it's all code language for, you know, I'm going to take this country back, and I'm not backing down from anybody. This is the American way.
May I just interject one point? It represents also, it's not just the black president. It's gay marriage, it's immigration, it's all of these things. These people are looking at a 1950s America and wondering where it went.
But I think the establishment Republicans, when they look at, they hear the voices, but they look at the polls. Every single month, support for gay marriage, even in red states, is going up. Every single month, you look at immigration reform, the people who support it, right? That's going up as well here. And they got to look at the demographics and the changing demographics in this country. It's getting less white. They got to get with the program here. So they got to get through the primary. But if they go too far on the right in the primary, what happens in the general? All right, we want to get you involved in our conversation. Head over to Facebook and Twitter and answer our question tonight. Do you think Donald Trump will keep resonating or will stop dropping in the polls? Same time next week, where do you think this guy is? All right, coming up next. A year after the death of Eric Garner, Mayor de Blasio says the NYPD has made real changes. The question is, have they made a real difference?